Yo, what is good, dev guys? It's your boy K. Yes, sir. I'm back with another devlog. I know it's been about 7 months since I talked to y'all about my game project, but if you've been keeping up with the community, then you know I stream Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays from 12 to 4, and sometimes I go later if, I'm really feeling that urge. So for those of you in the community, this devlog won't actually come as a surprise. But for those of you who ain't in the streams, get your ass in there. I need your energy. I'm putting up this goddamn spirit bomb of a project, and I'm like, Goku, give me your energy.
No! Fellow Earthlings, please listen! We need your energy now!
I need you in the comments. I need you giving me ideas. I need you bouncing. I need to bounce ideas off you. Get in there. I got damn near 4,000 subs. I'll be having 5 people in there. Get y'all ass in there. You know what I'm talking about? But on a serious note, this past few months has been really focused on rewriting some of the systems that just feel clunky and don't really fit with the type of game that I'm making. Lyra is more of a third-person Fortnite-style shooter where you pick up the guns, you drop those guns, you kill people with those guns, and then rinse, dry, and repeat. My game, I needed to build systems that worked for both progression and persistence. So I needed to change things around just a little bit. So I started with Lyra's built-in equipment system, and I replaced it with a more fluid system. I'm now able to pick up weapons. That weapon will now equip abilities necessary for that weapon, as well as create an item that enters the player's backpack that they can keep track of. This also adds logic for dropping and picking up other weapons that you might find throughout the level. Another thing that I did not like about the equipment system was that every time you switch weapons, Lyra was destroying and spawning a new actor. This is one of the most expensive operations to do over the network, so doing it so frequently as swapping weapons would bottleneck network traffic. This had to be rectified, because in my game, there are abilities that you can also consider weapons as well as the weapons. So I didn't want to destroy those weapon actors and then bring them back every single time a player went from using a tactical ability to going back to the weapon. So what I did instead was implement a simple actor pooling system that would spawn all of the actors for both weapons and abilities, and each one that wasn't actually equipped would be set to dormant. This would make it ignore any network queries that would help me save that sweet bandwidth. One other optimization I could make would be setting the actors to inactive, but since none of them ticked, I figured dormant was fine enough. Another thing that I had to change in Lyra's base implementation was the way that the weapons fired bullets. I want to use a projectile-based bullet system for the majority of my weapons just to add a little skill cap. And with the line trace weapons, one of my biggest issue with it was that all of the weapon firing was done client-sided, meaning that cheating would be super easy. With the server-sided projectile bullets, this will make the game less responsive but harder to cheat across the board. I used a free plugin called Easy Ballistics and tweaked it to work properly with gas and other established systems. There is an overhead for construction and destruction of these actors, but Mookie built in a pooling system that allows you to just tell the server to pull a certain amount of bullets, and then instead of spawning bullets continuously until the end of time for everybody that's firing a weapon, we only spawn about 100 server-sided bullets for each player. This system also came with its own bag of bugs. I had to write a custom system to predict 250 bullets worth of random spread so that the server and the client-sided bullets matched up. This way the client-sided projectile and its flight path would look exactly how the server-side projectile's flight path looked. While we're still in the same category of weapons, I recently improved the sniper weapon that I initially had months back. Instead of using that Destiny-style full-screen UI scope widget, I instead use a customized screen capture 2D component that renders only specific things to the player, and it ignores a list of other things. This required a custom material shader as well as a whole lot of tweaking. I found this material pack on ArtStation a while ago, and then I finally decided to add it to the project and tweak it. It was a good starting point, but I won't lie, getting this shader to work with all of the other features that I have in my game was very time consuming. After I found out that it was all based on the UVs of the actual mesh that you're going to display the material on, it was kind of a breeze, but finding that out took so long that I almost didn't do the Call of Duty style of sniper scope. I almost stayed with the Destiny style sniper scope. I'm glad I fought through it. As for now, I think it looks pretty good.
Killing spree. Double kill. Triple kill. Annihilation.
I also changed that annoying sound that plays whenever you get a kill streak, and currently I'm using some placeholder voice lines from the Paragon assets, but for right now they're good enough. Another thing that I've done was write a completely custom looting system. I know Lyra has its own built-in looting system, but I didn't give that the time of day just because it didn't work well with my own interaction system that I already had implemented. This system is based off of a system that I learned in a course by Ruben Ward, where he teaches you how to make like a survival style game using Steam. It's a pretty good tutorial series. I took it a while back and
Some of the techniques I learned there, I still use them to this day. Here you can see my looting system at play. I'm able to run around the map and look at items and see their rarity VFX, which I am proud to say I made this from scratch with no tutorial. I've been following this good VFX course that's really been teaching me to understand and wrap my head around how to use Niagara. I'm also able to see information about this item, like its name and also another reiteration on its rarity. The rarity system is my simplification of what Call of Duty does with its extreme amount of weapon mods that you can add. Instead of doing that, basically each rarity has its own set of stats that comes with the weapon. These stats could change the way the weapon handles, the bullet velocity, and other things like that. And each has a map of those stats based on the rarity that the item is. So you can see that here on the shield as well as the weapons. Once I pick those items up, I'm able to store them in my backpack, where if I open my backpack, I'm able to see those items and their rarities. Right now, I only have a few test items for a control group, but items will include equipment, abilities, weapons, customization parts, and more. Speaking of parts, real quick, I brought back my Destiny style character customization system. This footage is from a tutorial that I'm making on how to implement a similar system, so make sure you subscribe to my channel for when it drops, you dig? In my current project, I'm using a pre-made preset since my system is kind of dependent on outside factors. I needed a way to test it out in the editor. And unlike the system I'm sharing in the tutorial, for my implementation, parts grant different attribute buffs and debuffs depending on the manufacturer and the rarity of the part. These parts will help push your character's overall stats past their limits and make builds more dynamic, but I digress. Looting works exactly how you expect it to. If you pick up an item and you have no more slots for that item type, then you drop whatever slot you have active or the last slot you had active, and you pick that item up and put it in that slot. Working on this, I found a ton of bugs that will really make you appreciate the completeness and the logic that is written in these AAA games. I also spent some time writing the code that will allow players to open up their inventories, select an item, drag it, and drop it out of their inventory. It also has smart drops where if a player drops a weapon that has used some ammo or a shield that has taken some damage, the next person would see that reflected on the item when they pick it up. Dropping loot will spawn this pickup actor that holds a structure of information about the item, the rarity, the slot that it goes in, the category that it's in, any attributes if it has any, and all types of information, some that needs to be replicated to the client and other information that is just server side only. So it's a pretty light struct that uses a tag system for most things. This tag system is really cool, man. I have a tutorial on my channel to show you like the basic outline of how I use this tag system. Essentially, I tag my data assets inside of the Unreal editor with a gameplay tag, and then I use that gameplay tag to find that specific data asset. This brings major benefits to performance, and then searching for items is way faster because instead of iterating over a bunch of objects that need to be casted down to the specific type that I need, I instead use this tag to just find that specific item by its tag. And since all gameplay tags in the editor need to be unique, the item that I'm searching for I know will have a unique tag. Speaking of assets, I've been using Midjourney 5.1 to help me with visualizing different things inside of my game, whether that be weapons, character design, environments, etc. It's really been helpful for a person like me who doesn't really have the artistic design muscle fully developed. It helps me turn my thoughts and my words into actual pictures, and any artist out there that thinks that this tool is haram or blasphemy needs to really take a look at the world and realize that not everybody is the same. Some of us need tools like this, or we will have to fork out a ton of money in order to get ideas generated. I will defend AI art until the end of time simply because I've paid artists hundreds of dollars for concept art that I have not and will not ever use, because as I grow and change as a developer, the vision of my project also grows and changes. So artwork that I spent $200 on a year ago is no longer being used, and to me that's a waste of $200. With Midjourney, I pay $10 a month and I can generate as many ideas as I want, and the next month when I pay $10, if my project's visual direction changes, I don't feel like the last month was a complete waste of my money because it was only $10. Now, this is not to say that I want to replace artists with AI generated art. I also think it's a tool that can assist artists, because me as a person who's a programmer and I work better with words and numbers, I can come to an artist with a rough draft of an idea and they can turn that into something that I actually use. But until I get to that point where I'm sold on the art direction and design for my game, I will be using AI generated art. And I'll display some of that art here that I've generated on the screen. Okay, time for the drama. I spent 2 or more months doubting my ideas, rewriting them, and changing the core structures of my game. And seeing that it wasn't the fun that I wanted, I scrapped it and I moved back to my own ideas. That whole experience was a lesson to me. Do not let someone deter you from making the game that you want to make. Do not settle for the game that you think you can make. Make the game that you want to make. And do not trust anybody in this industry. I will say that questioning every little decision that I made about my game did make me into a better writer, and the lore of my game is stronger for it. But that's 2 or more months that I cannot get back. The good news about that 2 months is I spent a lot of time reworking the ways that abilities flowed in Lyra. I basically wrote every base ability inside of C++ that you can think of, and it's now easier to design abilities based on archetypes. But yeah, that's all I wanted to share with you guys in this video. I'll see you in the next one. Peace.